I think it's safe to say for most of us that this has been a pretty strange spring. I've never experienced anything like this. The closest I could ever come to was thinking back to September 11 in 2001 when I was still working as a picture editor at a New York newspaper. Now we were 300 miles away from New York City, so it didn't impact us directly, but it certainly filled our minds and filled our pages for many, many weeks and months and even years. It had a profound effect on all of us. But you should probably know who I am. Your teacher, Mr. Ragsdale, had invited me to come speak to your class, come speak to your banquet at the end of this year, to celebrate the good work that you've done. And trust me, you have done a tremendous amount of good work. My name is Mark Johnson. I'm on the faculty down at the Grady College, down the hill from you at the university. And I'd be lying if I told you we don't pay attention to what you're doing, because we know that some of you we're going to see in our classes. And some of you I've already seen. You've either come to our Scholastic Press Association events, you've come to our awards events, or I've come up and spoken to you in some place. There was an afternoon, I think back last fall, where there were, I don't know, 6 or 8 of us that sat in your library and we just talked about pictures and we talked about visual storytelling. And that was a really good day for me because it reminds me of what my responsibility is. It reminds me that even though I'm no longer a working journalist, I still have a responsibility to convey information, to get ideas across, to make sure that people are prepared for whatever comes next. Now, many of you may be feeling right now that what has happened over the last couple of weeks, couple of months, has put a stop to your education, particularly those of you who may be graduating here in the next couple of weeks. But really, in some ways, it's kind of a start, because journalism is all about transitions and life is all about transitions. This was just the start of another part of your journey. When you went into kindergarten at some point in time, you probably thought that that was the end of your life as you knew it, because your carefree days of being able to play all day long and have snacks whenever you wanted ended. When you transitioned from elementary school into middle school and then into high school, and the constraints on your time got greater and greater and greater, you started focusing more. And each one of those times that a door closed, another one opened so that you could see a light someplace else that you were going to. One of the things that you should celebrate is the fact that over the last couple of months before this happened, you got to build strong connections with your classmates, with your friends, people in your schools, your teacher, Mr. Ragsdale, and lots of others. Those connections are incredibly important for you to carry forward throughout the rest of your life. That class brought you together. Those journalism classes teach you very specific things. They teach you how to observe. They teach you how to inquire. They teach you how to analyze. And they teach you how to present. Regardless of whether you come and join us in the halls of Grady College, and let me tell you, I've only been in the college twice since we shut down 6 weeks ago, and those are really, really difficult places for me to be right now, because our halls that are generally so full of life, as yours were at Clark Central, are just completely quiet right now. There's nobody there. It's very, very strange, having been there for 15 years, and to see those halls with nobody in them. But those skills of observing, inquiring, analyzing, and presenting, if you come into journalism, you'll use them every single day. But if you go into businesses, you'll use them every single day. If you go into medical professions, you'll use them every single day. If you go into the hospitality industries, you'll use them every single day. You'll observe what's going on around you. You'll analyze the needs of the people that are around you. You'll find ways to present the information that people need so that they can move forward through your life. The skills, as abbreviated as they may have been this year, are going to be applicable in lots and lots of different ways. And you got to keep that in mind, that this wasn't a completely lost semester, that you have the ability to take this, what you did learn, what you did accomplish, and move forward with it. In my journalism classes, my photojournalism classes, we like to live by small prime numbers, is one of the running jokes. There's 3 things that I teach my students on the first day of class, that if they can accomplish those with every one of their photographs, they'll be successful. There are prime numbers at the end of the program as well, and there's prime numbers throughout the middle of it. And so I want to give you one of those prime number directives right now. The role of journalism is incredibly important right now. It's never been more important than it is right now. There's more and more ways to deliver misinformation, bad information, propaganda, information that's going to sway you to make decisions that are not necessarily in your best interest. So as journalists, here are the 3 things that I want you to remember that you need to do. Your first role as a journalist is to educate. It is to present information. It's to gather facts. It's to document. whether that's through looking through public records or carrying a camera like I do every single day, to make a visual record of some sort of what's going on inside your community so that people can see what happened. The next role of the journalist is to illuminate. It's to take that information and to put it in a way that helps people build knowledge, that adds context to it so that your audiences can understand what's going on in that community. And then the last thing that you need to do is you need to do it in a way that resonates. You need to present information in a way that will bring people back for more. You don't want sort of one-hit wonders. You don't want viral videos to be the thing that you build a career off of. You want to build a body of knowledge. You want to build a platform. You want to participate in the news gathering process in a way that will allow people to keep coming back to you, to want to keep coming back to you, so that journalism can be sustainable. And that's a really, really big challenge these days. There's no question about it. As I'm looking around the media landscape every day, I'm seeing more and more of my former colleagues that are being laid off. I'm seeing newsrooms that are shrinking. I'm seeing communities that are going without vital information, without accurate, truthful, well-reported, well-researched, well-analyzed, and well-presented information. And they're turning to social media. They're turning to people on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to give them information, and they don't know where that information is coming from. The role of the journalist to educate, to illuminate, and to resonate is unbelievably critical. Now, if you choose to pursue journalism, I want to give you a quote from Edwin Land, and most of you are going to scratch your heads and not know who Edwin Land is, but I suspect when I tell you that he was the founder of Polaroid, you're all going to go, oh yeah, that guy. He said many, many years ago when he was founding Polaroid that he didn't want to do anything that someone else can do. That the goal of Polaroid, that its corporate role was to bring something new to market as often as it could. And as journalists, that's what you need to do as well. To go out and cover the things that everybody else already knows about doesn't benefit your community. You have to dig deeper. You have to keep looking. You have to go where people aren't. That's critical for journalists to survive. That's critical for journalism to survive as well. I spent my career as a photojournalist and as a picture editor, and I teach photojournalism classes at Grady College now. And I love it every single day that I get to go into the photo cave down in the basement, and I get to talk about pictures, and I get to talk about visual storytelling, and I get to talk about community, and I get to talk about history, and I get to talk about impact with a bunch of bright young minds, many of whom have gone through the same classes that you have gone through. Those are really inspiring days for me. I didn't decide to become a photographer. I decided to become a journalist. And I decided to become a journalist because I saw the importance and the power of what journalism can do. The fact that I happened to do it with the camera, it's as much luck as anything else. But these cameras, like this, these ones that you can see scattered around behind me, these are the ways that I've done it. Dorothea Lange was a Farm Security Administration photographer back in the 1930s. And many of you know some of her images, her most iconic images, the Migrant Mother. She said that the camera is an instrument that teaches us to see without a camera. And I want you to think about that. The camera is an instrument that teaches people how to see without a camera. By using these tools to observe my community, it's teaching me how to observe, how to pay more attention. Susan Mayzalis, who's a documentary photographer who did a lot of tremendous work in Central and South America during the 1980s, said the camera is an excuse to be someplace that you don't otherwise belong. And that's the power of journalism right there. It's one of the great advantages. For those of us who are naturally curious, for those of us who are really interested in what's going on in the human condition and doing something about it, the tools of journalism, whether it's a camera, a still camera, a video camera, a notebook, an audio recorder, whatever it happens to be, that's your entree. That's your way of getting into people's lives and sharing experiences and helping build knowledge throughout a community. I tend to fly more than I would really like, and I'm pretty thankful that right now I'm not having to fly all that much at all. But I remember last year I was on a flight, and at the very beginning of the flight, as they're telling you to get your seatbelt on and put everything away, and they play those corny little videos telling you how to get out of the plane if something goes wrong, as if we're going to remember how to get out of the plane if something really goes wrong. The Delta flight had a tagline on it that says, "Connection begins with departure." And I really thought that that was interesting, that the only way to connect with something new is to depart from something that you know. A month and a half ago, you had to depart from what you knew. For those of you who are graduating, you're permanently departing from what you know. But what comes next is really cool. Connection begins with departure. Don't forget that. I'm really proud that I've gotten to know a couple of you over the last few years, and I've been really, really happy to see the work that you've done with the Odyssey magazine and Odyssey Online. I think it's a tremendous platform. I think there's great stories that have come out of this year and in the past years. There's a lack of journalism coverage here in this community, and I think you students, you graduates, have done a tremendous service to the community that I call home. I wish you the greatest of luck, and I hope I see you at Grady College in the near future.